Hey guys, Harv here, and today we've got a bit of a challenge for us. This is landing on 2 moons in one mission with one ship. Now, the ship we're using, the launch stage is actually pretty interesting. It's something I've recently started using more and more. In fact, the whole theme of the rocket is, well, the point is it has a theme. The launch stage uses a combination of air-breathing and aerospike engines, centered or radially attached to one of those big new tanks. And it's actually pretty good because it means it doesn't get too tall and yet it gets lots of fuel. Also, one of the main parts is that the aerospikes are currently using the fuel that's stacked on top of the air-breathing engines, which means we can detach them when they get empty. Now, you might have seen at the start of the video that tank in the center is currently disabled. The flow is disabled because stupidly, well, not stupidly, I guess it could be logical in some way, that decides it wants to drain first. Oh, and those are actually empty, so we can drop them now. And of course now we can re-enable that flow. It doesn't matter what order the fuel gets used in, now those are gone. And we're getting pretty high. We dropped them at about 16, maybe even 15,000. And we're getting pretty high and pretty fast. Now, the main theme, as I mentioned with this, is large tanks with the engines attached radially to them. And this is actually a pretty solid ship design. There are a lot of things I like about this. One of the things I don't like, I can fix it, but I don't think I will because it's actually pretty challenging anyway, is the lander design. The lander is literally a fuel tank and an orbital maneuvering engine, I think they're called. Well, to be truthful, that's actually the Lunar lander. Oh, that stage is empty now. We can get rid of that. Like that. And now we can start the next things. Just check where we are on the map. But yeah, the moon lander, for sake of saving fuel and again as much delta V as possible, it's as bare as can be, which means we're actually going to land on the engine, old style, before landing legs were invented, or before the technicians at the Kerbal Space Center allowed us to use them, got them out of that testing stage. So as is the drill with any time we try and land on Minmus, which is our first port of call, we're going to just get into an orbit, stretch out the orbit towards the nodes of Minmus, and, you know, align the orbits and so and reverse the orbit so that we collide with it. And the reason we're going to Minmus first is because Minmus gravity is far weaker, and if I'm correct, it actually takes a lot less delta V to get to Minmus and back than it does to the moon. So the big heavy stages we need, or you know, the amount of fuel we need to get to the moon and back, can be carried down onto Minmus and back up relatively easily. As you'll see, it requires hardly any fuel or hardly any thrust in those engines to land on Minmus. So here we are, we've got our orbit, and now it's time just to look around and see where is that node. The node of an orbit is where it crosses over the equator of the planet, and the reason we want to find it is that it means we'll be at the same level. So there it is, you can see that the Minmus orbit crosses right over the center of Kerbin there. We're just focusing on Kerbin at the moment so we can keep it in that spot. Time warp round to get the ship into the right location. And it's pretty much the same drill. It's a Hoffman transfer, or something, no, not Hoffman. Hohmann? I don't know how to say it, I've only ever seen it written down. Transfer maneuver, so you extend the orbit, and then when you get to the apo key, as it will be, an apoapse, we can extend the perigee back. Just turning around to get into position now. Burning off towards the sun. That's not where we're going. No. 120,000 meters right now. And we can start thrusting, extending that orbit. Takes a while, you know, you don't want to rush it. Going at full throttle right now is kind of safe because we're in the low stages of our orbit. But, you know, we probably want to keep an eye on that map view. Otherwise it might escalate. you know. Might want to keep an eye on the map view. Or not, you know. Whoa! That's going fast, okay. Carefully, carefully. Unless you haven't already guessed, this is a pre-recorded video. You should be able to tell it by now. It's a style I haven't done before, and I'm trying it out now, because it's pretty good style. I think it's quite professional. Because it means you can cut out the boring bits and still have live commentary over the good bits. Without having, you know, without scripting what you say. Because I can't read off a script naturally. I don't know if you've seen my video. What was it? I'm just blatantly advertising now, aren't I? It was... I think it was how to get to Moon and back, full tutorial. And I'd written out a script. I thought I was being so professional. I'd written out everything I was going to say. And I got that all ready. And then when I started it, I just sounded so different to how I usually talk. But anyway, that's not the video we're talking about. That's not the video in question. This one is. And it took us a long time to get out here. It takes something like 3, maybe even 4 times as long to get out to Minmus than it does to the moon. Just because as you continue your distance, you're slowing down. With every step, you can see our speed. We're going at 48.3 meters a second. It's extremely slow. And now we're at the apogee. And now we're sitting basically on the orbit. It's not quite right, but we're basically sitting on the orbit of Minmus. We want to be pointing northwards so we can align that orbit. So we can just wheel the ship around, point it northwards, and this will go so quickly. Like just 3, just slow burn, do slow burn. Whoop, there it goes. That's all it needed. It took literally a flash of the engines and we've changed our orbit that much. That's what you get when you go really slow. Oh, excuse me, I'm just wiping my nose. I have a bit of a cold, if you can't already tell. So, whilst we're still at the apogee, the next port of call is to reverse our orbit. I personally like doing this only at Minmus. At the moon it doesn't really work because it takes so much more fuel to reverse your orbit, but out here it takes hardly anything. With the moon we have a different manoeuvre to try and catch up with it that you'll see later on in the video. So we just need to burn, and see, it takes literally 5 seconds and we've already reversed our orbit. And now we just need to stretch it out a bit more. Instead of doing this, it would probably make more sense to point straight upwards now, because we don't need to spend all this fuel to match Minmus' orbit, seeing as we're going to land on it right now. And also the patched conics for Minmus isn't very reliable, I figured out. You can see we should ideally actually hit it at this stage, and it's not showing anything, which is slightly worrying. So now eventually I'm going to point straight up away from Kerbin and do some mild thrusting, which should reduce our perigee but also mean our apogee is a bit higher. So ideally we should come in a bit closer to Minmus. There it is. There's the mother planet. It looks so small from up here. See, there we are. Thank God. Patched Conics has finally realised that we should actually be targeting it. But, you know, it seems to be in a bit of a mental trauma state right now. It's a bit worried, can't really understand what's going on. It's going to flicker backwards and forwards quite a bit. And now we're actually trying to use RCS to make those changes, but that's a bit too delicate, so I have to use the engines. I don't know why I have RCS tanks on this, actually. I didn't actually need them, and in fact, when I was using them, it was mainly because I wanted to burn the fuel to make us lighter. That was the only real cause I had to use the RCS thrusters. Yeah, so maybe it's something to take out of the design. So here we are, we're here in our orbital stage slash min lander slash moon stage, because those 3 vectoring engines have got us into orbit around Kerbin, got us out here to Minmus. They're going to land us on Minmus, and they're going to get us to the moon as well. So a lot of fuel it takes. And what I was thinking earlier before I started this video was, do I have enough fuel in that stage, or do I have enough thrust to actually get out of Earth's, you know, to escape Earth's gravity? Or to overcome, I should say. I think escaping it would take a bit more fuel than I've got. But the reason I was thinking this is that in the next update they're going to add planets 0.17, which is going to be great. But with planets comes the fact that it's so much more gravity. And I think this ship design we're using now has actually got enough delta V to land on a planet and get back up, at least into orbit. Poses some questions. Oh, here we are. Now we want to take this steadily because warping around Minmus is a bit dodgy. Whoa, okay. Glad I managed to stop that in time. Many a mission have gone awry to Minmus in my Kerbal Space Program history because of warping. It's like, yeah, I'll just warp down to the perigee, it'll be fine. Whoa, missed it. And now we're out and we're on escape velocity to the sun. 3 days into the mission. Is it? Yeah, it must be 3 days. So now we're just burning retrograde, getting to orbit around Minmus. This is probably one of the most fuel intensive parts. Ooh, there we go. Now that's a weird orbit, isn't it? I'm surprised we're actually not at the perigee there. It's a bit odd. Oh well, we can warp this down. Just try and reduce our speed as much as possible while staying in orbit. And now it's about time to select a landing site. Ideally, we want to land on one of those lakes, because we know how far up we are. Well, the thing is, the altimeter doesn't actually work. It tells you how high above sea level you are, not how... God, I can't speak. How high? The altimeter tells you your altitude above sea level. And those frozen lakes are actually at sea level, so we can use... If we land on them, we know exactly how high up we are. Another reason for doing it is that they're flat, so there's no trouble with... There's no possibility of falling over. Unless you're just an exceptionally bad landing pilot. Which, as we see later in the video, I might be. Not letting on any spoilers. So the thing is, there's a big patch of lake directly underneath our orbit trajectory. So I'm just going to burn southwards to try and reach that. It's also extended this a little, but that's no problem. We can just point retrograde again and bring it back. There we are. Exactly like that. Slap bang in the middle of that lake. And now we can warp down and burn at the last minute, really, because, as I've said, the gravity of Minmus is so small that we really can just wait until... We could probably burn at 5,000 meters and still make it. Well, you know, that might be a bit excessive, but you get the idea. I wonder how Wilfred's doing. Is the stress getting to him, I wonder? The fact that everything's resting on him. He's going to be the first Kerbal to ever land on 2 moons in the same mission, if it's successful. I wonder also how he's feeling just colliding head first. Pointing down towards the ground can't be a very reassuring position. Let's sort that, let's tip him round. Always smiling though, he does seem quite happy, quite confident. That's good. Jeb has taught him well, evidently. Just using that RCS now, just to burn the fuel, because it's excess weight. And see, now we're down here at 7,000 and we can just burn and our speed drops instantly. It really takes hardly any fuel. So now, of course, it's just a landing procedure, cross-fading down onto the surface. 400, 100 meters. Here we are, travelling infinitesimally slow. Slow floaty landings. I think I actually try and use the RCS here to push us down a little. Is that in this recording? I don't know. But in any case, we have plenty of fuel to do so. 2.5, 2.4, just slow burns. Taking it a bit too cautiously, I think, but you know, a lot is resting on Wilfred here. Oh, there's our shadow. Literally 15 meters off the ground. Oh, too much thrust. A bit of pogoing going on. Go on, just get it down. Just drop the ship onto the surface. We're so close. Don't go back up. It's a waste of fuel. And burn and cut. There we are. What a soft landing that was. Stage 1 of the mission is complete. And it wasn't really that hard. Look how much fuel we have left. We have like 1/3 in our tanks. And those outer tanks, I think the inner tank must be drained already. And here we are. Now in 0.16 we have the ability to do EVAs. Oh! Catch! Yep. EVA. And we get those rocket packs, which are really good. And they're also really helpful, seeing as I didn't put any ladders on this lander. That wasn't an oversight, I just thought I'd reduce the weight as much as possible. And you can see we can actually stand on these fuel tanks. That's given me some ideas for possible moon or min bases for the future. You can make pathways using those massive fuel tanks. And here we are, that is the photo, the group photo. Each mission has to show you. And what was I saying? I don't know. Doing commentary in this style, I think I break off sentences quite a lot to try and keep up. And here we are, getting back in the Moonlander. Minlander? No, Moonlander, we are getting back in the Moonlander. Somehow we were grabbing onto the bare surface of the rocket there. That's a useful skill to have if you don't have ladders, I have to admit. Let's quick save here, I think. In case anything goes wrong, we should definitely quick save. And just readjust the camera, and now it's time to get to the moon. Getting from the min to the moon is something I haven't hardly ever done. I think this is the second time I've attempted it. Because it sounds more complicated than it really is. That's not really a reason why I shouldn't have attempted it, but I also have problems knowing where to burn in order to try and in order to get the most efficient way back down to the moon, back to Kerbin. So we're just going to burn this direction, and there we go. Escape velocity. And of course we just want to burn retrograde to bring our perigee down. It's no big deal, this part. And we can ride it round. And of course we're still at that inclination. We have that inclination left over from the Minmus orbit. So what we want to do first is just burn retrograde so we can slow our speed down as much as possible. And to bring that apogee back down to moon orbital height. Orbital altitude I should say. Height and altitude are actually very different things. I don't know enough about it to warrant me talking to you about it, so I'm just not going to bother. Wheeling round, burning retrograde there. And of course we want to sort out this inclination, so what we'll probably do is just warp to the node. Take it steady. Just slowly warp round to that node bit. Just to the bit where it crosses over the orbit. Then we can burn northwards. And do it steady. Steady, Harvey. Well, there are 2 points on every orbit where it crosses over the equator, so it's no big deal. We can just walk around to the other one. Try not to go too fast again. I am really bad at controlling warp factor, I've realised. But never mind. I'm sufficiently good enough to, to complete this mission. Hopefully on the first try. We shall see. Now as the ship moves, my camera changes with it, so I am actually at the right position now, though I don't realise it. Oh, there we are. I think I've realised. 1, 2 points southwards now. We're on the opposite side of the orbit, so we want to be pointing southward to realign the inclinations. 6 days. 6 days into the mission. 6 days, 17 hours, 29 minutes and 16 seconds. It's a long time. I was actually talking to my brother about this, and in that command module, how much food can they get there? How long can they last for in those command modules? I was under the impression it was probably only going to be like, maybe a week at max. He seemed to think that you could last for a month, which I don't know. It's still something I haven't found out. But at any rate, as I've said earlier, we're not going to want to reverse our orbit to go back and collide with the moon. It takes far too much fuel and we'll have to slow down a lot more to try and land on the surface. So instead we're going to do some orbital rendezvousing, which consists of getting ourselves into an orbit that's a lot lower than the moon's, which means we'll travel around faster. Just look at Kerbin there. we just want to warp round. And there you can see we have an encounter. Just warping around until we get that encounter to realise what's going on. And it actually says now we're going to collide, I think, because we can't see a perigee. We can't see a perigee there. We probably want to do some orbital manoeuvring. Yeah, excuse me. Cold splaying up. Yeah, we probably want to do some burning to sort that out, because the patched Connix has no idea what's going on. It's a lot more indecisive than I would have thought it would have to be. So what we're going to do is just point upwards, like we did on the Min. Just point towards the moon there, and there we go. Now we actually have a perigee. It's a bit of a weird perigee, actually. If we continued on our trajectory without burning, I think we'd probably reach Kerbin escape velocity. Just whipping around the moon there. It's called a gravity assist. And it actually would slow down the moon slightly, because we slingshot around it and so attract ourselves to the moon, which also means the moon is being attracted to us, which brings it out of its orbit slightly. So, you know, if we ever get round to doing thousands upon hundreds of thousands of heavy-duty moon slingshots, we may actually be able to deorbit it. Probably take a bit more than hundreds of thousands, probably maybe in the millions section. But never mind, here we are, down at the perigee. Now this would be an ideal place to quick save, wouldn't it? Yeah, it would be, but we're not going to, for reasons of blur. Instead, we're just going to commence our landing procedure. Burning retrograde, getting into an orbit, and is that good enough? Should we just... Where should we land, actually? Because we want to land on... We want to land on the light side, that's definite. We have yet to install lights to our landers to show us where we're going in the dark sides of the moon. So, you know what, I think we can actually just deorbit here. We're in a roughly spherical orbit now, and we are heading towards the light side of the moon. So it might be time just to deorbit immediately. And whilst we want to land on something as flat as possible, I don't like landing in craters. They seem perfect, but inside them they're actually pretty dark, and you get the same problem where you can't see the ground. There we are now set. Our fate is preordained. We are committed to making this landing. Well, you know, I mean, at this point in time, we could safely eject. Easily, actually. But we're not going to. We're not even going to bother quick saving, we're just going to warp down to the moon. And after extensive warping, we get to about 25,000 altitude, and think, yeah, we should probably start slowing down now. Maybe. And once again, Wilfred is head first going down towards the moon, so we can right it. You know, as we spin this ship around, he's probably feeling the effects of artificial gravity, centripetal force, as it's called, not centrifugal. Centrifugal does not actually exist. It's an extensive topic that my dad quite likes talking about, because my brother is doing some Space Olympics stuff, and he's talking a lot about artificial gravity. He's actually got a presentation to do, and with my Cinema 4D skills, I am going to be doing some animations for him. Some massive rotating habitats. But never mind, I've already missed crucial parts. Now we can eject that stage that served us so well, and we can commence down onto the surface of the moon, burning at full throttle. And there's no real markers how far down we are, because altitude, the altimeter, isn't very reliable. We can just look at the texture of the ground. Something I've realised, actually, is that my moon has no rocks on it. If you watch other Kerbal Space Program videos, then they have rocks on their moon. I guess all the rocks on mine just got bored and went off to Mars. Oh, going down a bit fast. A bit fast, we want to slow down a bit, we want to slow down a bit. No, 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 oh, God. Try and eject, lost the parachute, lost the engine, lost the fuel tank. Ugh. Now we have EVA fuel, but it's not enough to get into orbit around the moon. And rage. I know what we can do. I know, we can eject ourselves up. All we need to do is just find... Yeah, we can do that. Does that... No, that doesn't help, does it? No. Thank God I quick saved in moon orbit, eh? Oh, wait, I didn't. Back here. Alright, burn, burn, burn. Thrust, thrust, thrust. So, second time we are now making our way back down, back at the 3-day mark. Takes 4 days. No, takes another 3 days to get back down to moon orbit. But anyway, we get down to moon orbit, point southward, change our inclination. And hopefully we can retry this landing. Burning retrograde, warping around to try and catch up the moon. Oh, that's a fast warp speed. They've added the 100,000 times, haven't they? And it's probably about this stage I should be... You know, I probably should have done it about a quarter orbit back, but whatever. Now we can burn upwards. Try and intercept the moon. Because we are actually going faster than it, so we want to, as quickly as possible, get into the same orbital space as it. I'm doing this a lot less efficiently than I was. My. Doing everything at the wrong time just because I want to rush this video. I want to get into editing. I want to get into recording. First time I've done it like this, as I've said a few times. Here we are, warping ground. Patched Conics, where are you? Come on, what's going on here? Surely we're on a collision course right now. Surely. Oh, maybe not. Let's just burn upwards a bit more. Change our orbit slightly to make it realise that we should be. Come on, there we go. Oh, wow. Whipping right round that. And it's the same drill, getting into orbit, decreasing the orbit down onto the light side. And you know what? I think quick saving up here is a good idea. So we've done that. Though you haven't seen any footage of it, I think I've done it. I think, if I remember rightly. Oh well, once again, 23,000 meters up, and then we can burn retrograde. Same old drill. Pumping all that fuel out the back. And ejecting the Minlander stage, and now it's the Moonlander. Why oh why did I not put landing legs on it? To reduce weight, but seriously, they would have helped so much in this circumstance. Now of course it's same old drill. I've probably said that phrase a lot of times now, haven't I? I'll stop saying it now. It's the same old, just burning hydrogen and oxygen, and as it expands we throw out the back to create. And I didn't actually record that part, so that's why no footage, but the landing wasn't successful. But it's okay, we can escape. Oh. Or maybe not. And we did quick save. We did quick save in moon orbit, turns out. Or in moon collision port, I think it was. And who's that there below us? Who is that down there? Moonlander. Huh, well the Moonlander moonlanded. But it seems to be a bit broken. Maybe we could go and say hi to them. We should probably, if we wanted to, we should probably have burned a bit earlier. But, you know, maybe we can slow down just enough to still get there. See if there's anyone still alive on that abandoned ship. Eject the stage and once again start the Moonlander. No, I think we're too far away to even walk. And there's Kerbin above us. No doubt watching us quick load and quick save and quick load as we attempt to do it. 1,300 meters, come on, got a good feeling about this landing. Just take it steady and make sure you go down slow. The problem with floating down is that your trajectory goes everywhere, as you can't have any vertical velocity, your lateral velocity goes crazy. So just try and wobble around to try and, you know, stop that. 8.5 kilometers away from that ship. It's a bit too far to walk. I think the oxygen would probably probably run out before then. Oh, there's a shadow. Take it slowly. 0.3, 0.2 meters a second. Take it steadily, but don't pogo. Actually, you know what? We have plenty of fuel. Pogo all you like. Landing on the edge. Oh, there we are. Whew. Landing on the engine. Perilous. But there we go. 2 moons in 1 mission, and now all we have to do is return, and we know we've got enough fuel to do that. Although first, of course, it wouldn't be a proper mission if we didn't step out onto the surface. Wilfred Kerbin, smiling, grinning there, is going to be the first man, the first Kerbal, to step on the moon's surface, on 2 moons' surface, in 1 mission. Wow. And there it is, there's the photo, him jogging away. And you know, we can probably have a bit of fun, fly about a bit. Moon gravity is so different to min gravity. Takes a lot more fuel to do these kind of maneuvers. And what's he doing now? What the... No! No, Wildorf! That... Oh, his name's Wilfred, isn't it? But that's your return stage. What the hell have you done? Oh well, never mind. We can quick save. No, quick load! Quick load! Whew. God, I make that mistake all the time. Don't quick save when you want to quick load. And now the game's crashed. Which isn't good. But luckily we did quick save before doing that. He evidently thought he could have some fun. Knock about the lander a bit. Try and give those guys back at Kerbal Space Center a bit of a heart attack. But now it's time to return. You know, we've completed the mission. But it's not really success unless he returns alive. So that's what's going to happen. 9 days, 19 hours, 40 minutes and 32 32 seconds, that's it, into the mission. And now it's just the last, it's the home stretch. Get into an orbit around the moon. Increase that orbit back away from our orbital trajectory. And there we go. And just burn to reduce our perigee, bringing it back down. And you know, maybe we can judge our landing. Maybe we can try and land back at the Kerbal Space Center, so that he doesn't need to be rescued and he can have lots of bragging rights. But you know, it seems that we're just going to try and land. At least we're on the light side of the Earth. It's nice to land in daylight. Anywhere you are, there's the sun. There it is in its glory. And somewhere out there, a piece of space junk is trying to escape the sun's sphere of influence. If you haven't seen that video, then I'd recommend it. It's one of mine. And what is with this lag? What is going on? I think we should have to go into the map view. Map view to reduce the lag. And what is this as well? The Earth seems to have rotated. It does that. It does that occasionally. And it seems we are going to land near our home continent. So if we can just burn, we can maybe land there. But no, too fast and we burn too late. It seems we're going to be condemned to the ocean. We don't have enough delta V to resist our orbital velocity. Or suborbital velocity, actually. There's no way we're going to get back into orbit from here. Oh well, give up hope. We might as well detach from this landing stage. It served us well. Literally made up of 3 parts: a decoupler, a fuel tank and an engine, and we managed to land on the moon and return with it. Pretty impressive, actually. Wilfred doesn't look happy, but I guess it's probably just nerves. He does look very nervous, doesn't he? And you know, the parachute will deploy at 500 meters. Or maybe just a bit under that. I have this competition with myself where I try and open the parachute as low as possible, but, you know, open it quite early. This is one astronaut we cannot afford to lose. He's done great things. He's accomplished great things for the Kerbal Space Program. And no doubt his discoveries and his ship design will help us in future episodes. Thanks for watching, guys. And if you did like the video, then please do like the video. I'll see you next time.